Hi. I've had some of my older friends and some people that have been subscribing to my channel. Actually, how do you start a YouTube channel? All right, you don't need, if you want to just check out YouTube and look at videos, you don't need to join YouTube. You don't need a subscription and that kind of thing. All you need to do is get in there and search what you want to search. However, if you want to start posting your own videos, you need to create a Google account first if you don't already have one with a Google, email. And then you got to fill out your name and a couple little things and just follow the prompts and that'll get you to where you need to be. And then once you get your Google account set up, then you can get into YouTube and create your own account. Now, there's a lot of information that you need to get into and set up your own YouTube account. And I'm not going to get into it in this video. All right, let me introduce myself. I'm John. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd appreciate it if you do. If you are one of my subscribers, thanks again for coming back and listening to me. And hopefully, you'll gain some information from this today. Uh, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And if you want notifications when I post new videos, there's a little bell down below, and just click on that, and that'll give you notifications when I have something new that's coming out. And if you like this video, hit the like button. That's important. It goes towards our algorithm, which I'll explain in another video. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire setup of YouTube or your YouTube channel today. However, what I plan on doing is just taking a couple of segments. And one of the segments that you're going to need to do or need to identify when you're posting a video is you have to attach it to a category. Now, I'm going to read the categories. I'm going to read it right from this notes that I have here. It's autos and vehicles, comedy, education, entertainment, film and animation, gaming, how to and style, music, news and politics, nonprofits and activism, people and blogs, pets and animals, science and technology, sports, or travel and events. When you create a video, you have to assign it to one of these categories. And most of the time, people keep the same category, and that makes sense. Again, it depends upon your niche. Now, people are probably saying, what the hell is a niche? I didn't know what a niche was. I knew what the term was, but I didn't realize that it was that important when you're doing YouTube that you have to create a niche. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to keep that niche throughout, or you can set up a niche in your own mind that this is what you want to do, and then you can expand that niche to have other topics that you want to talk about in that particular niche. Now, my niche is primarily helping people over 40, specifically older people in their 50s and 60s and beyond, set up and start their own YouTube channels. However, I've gotten to the point where I put out other kind of videos. Right now, I'm putting out videos about my weight loss journey with semaglutide, and I've gotten a lot of views and comments on that. It's important to identify a niche, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay with that niche forever. And again, you could just expand upon it and try different aspects of that niche. Now, let me explain what a niche is. I mean, it depends. Let me get again, let me go refer to my notes. A niche is primarily something that you're passionate about. And that's important because if you're not passionate about something, you're not going to give it your all. You're not going to be enthusiastic. You're not going to talk about that particular thing with any degree of knowledge. Uh, Another thing is when you create your niche, especially when you're older, say most of your life, you did woodworking as a hobby. And right now, you want to talk about woodworking. However, you may still possess the skills, but you can't demonstrate those skills. Uh, in other words, if you're not capable of showing on camera exactly what you're doing, it's difficult for the viewer to understand what you're talking about if you just talk about something without the visual explanation of how to do it. Now, for instance, if I chose a niche, say, of fishing, yeah, I could fish. I could sit down and I could fish, from a dock, from the a side of a lake or something like that. However, my preference, and I love to surf fish at one time, I cannot, due to my physical limitations, go out there and give a good expertise and a showing of how to surf fish. I just can't stand in the sand. I can't risk getting hit with waves if I wade in a little bit and cast out. And I don't know if I have the strength anymore to use a big pole that's required in surf fishing. Yeah, I could sit up on a high dock and a pier at the beach, and I could sit up there and on my chair and fish over the railing and things like that. But in order to stand up and fish at that railing, I couldn't do it because I just don't have that ability anymore. Uh, my body is kind of failing me as far as being able to stand. And I could walk somewhat, but I usually walk with a walker, and I'm very careful. I'm very unsteady. So I that's my limitation. And you have to understand your own limitations about what you can do and what you can't do. I'll give you another for instance. Suppose you love gardening and you've always loved gardening and you want to put out a video about gardening and how you can get in the soil and you can do this and you can put these plants down. But can you actually kneel down in that soil, and get up again afterwards to do what you need to do? And now some people that are older have that ability. I mean, they've kept themselves in great shape. Their body hasn't rebelled against them yet where it's they require like a cane or a rollator or a wheelchair or something like that, and they have good ability to be able to demonstrate, and they can get down in the dirt and do what they got to do. So again, when you're checking, when you're determining, not checking, but when you're determining what your niche is, be able to think about, do I have the limitations imposed upon me where I can't demonstrate hands on, or is my verbal skills good enough to explain exactly how to do this? Some people would listen to it, but a lot of people like to see you get into it and do it. Again, for instance, suppose you're repairing a car. You can point to a part on the car and say, this is how you take it off. You use a 3/4 inch socket wrench. It's a big socket wrench. You got to do this, you got to do that. It doesn't go over as well as you put a 3/4 inch socket wrench on the nut and showing exactly what you're doing to take it off, and to take that part off and replace that part. That's more visual instead of explanatory. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, now I did a search this morning about what are the most popular niches on YouTube currently. YouTube niches ebb and flow, which means some of them are, very popular now, and they'll be popular for a couple of months, and then something else will become popular. So you got to keep abreast of what's going on and how you want to do this and pick the right niche. And again, you can always change that niche. It's just up to you. Some of these niches that you're going to talk about remain evergreen, which means they'll be out there forever, while others trend intensely for a specific season. Evergreen being that they'll be out forever. People will click on a search on YouTube and they'll find that particular topic that they're looking for, and your video may be in that group. And that's great, because then you'll get views. Maybe 8 years, 9 years from now, it could be 9 months from now, but it'll always be there. All right, now here's a breakdown of some of the most popular niches on YouTube right now, which is 2025. This is April, including the ones with the most serious growth potential. Right now, the top niches exploding are AI and tech tools, tutorials for ChatGPT, AL art, and automation hacks are very important right now because a lot of people are searching for that kind of information. People love how to use AI for certain videos. Low competitions, if you can simplify it for beginners or older audiences, that's great. That's what you got to do. You got to simplify things. I mentioned in another video the old adage is KISS, which means keep it simple, stupid. I mean, I hate to say that, but I've always uh, subscribed to that particular way of doing things. And I've gotten my point across because you can explain it in the most expressive way and not get your point across if you're using language that the average person may not understand. Now, you yourself may be an expert, or you may think you're an expert in that field, but the person that you're talking to may not have a clue what you're talking about if you use words that they don't know. So, again, keep it simple. Another lucrative niche right now, which is hot, is finance and passive income, budgeting, side hustles, and how to save money. That's especially important in this day and age and what's going on in our economy at this present time. Older people, how to budget, how to have side hustles. If you're retired and you're looking to make some extra money over and above YouTube, which I've talked about before, there's other things that you can do. And I'll put out a video about that. I mean, for instance, you could sell on uh, Shopify, you can sell on YouTube, you can go to the flea market and sell at the flea market. There's all different kinds of ways that you can make some money. Another thing is health and weight loss journeys. I've gotten a lot of hits recently because of my weekly updates on my semaglutide, or it's called GLP-1, which is Wegovy, basically. Uh, Before and after stories, weekly updates, and meal tips. It's super relevant right now, especially if you're you know, talking about your journey. Now, my journey has been it's been rough. The first couple of weeks it was great. The first month I lost 10.5 pounds, and then my body said, "Hey, wait, we're going to reassess how you're losing weight." So I hit a weight plateau, and plateau has been over 2 weeks right now, and I have to stop taking the semaglutide this week because next week I'm having cataract surgery, and the anesthesiologist told me that I can't take the semaglutide next week. Just give it a break for a week. Another topic is lifestyle and vlogs. Not just, hey, it's my day, but sharing relatable life experiences, wisdom, or humor. Now, I love to do geocaching. I love to be out and about. I have a mobility scooter that I use, especially when I go down to Disney. And I ride all over creation with it. I also have a portable electric travel wheelchair. I don't use it as much because uh, the scooter is much more comfortable and it's easier for me right now. However, I have used the electric wheelchair on occasion, and it's convenient. It's just not as convenient as the other thing that I was just talking about. Uh, Midlife or boomer vlogs with a perspective. Life after 65 and still dreaming. As I mentioned, I'm 78. I'm still dreaming. I I just don't give up. I may be slower in what I'm doing, but I just keep doing what I want to do within my physical limitations. All right, I'm going to put this up a little bit so it's easier for me to refer to. And I'm sorry, but I have to do that. Uh, but I can't remember everything all the time. It's just impossible. My mind just doesn't comprehend exactly what I want to talk about. I could read something, and 2 minutes later, I can say, "What the hell did I read?" But that's just me. Uh, Self improvement and mindset, motivation. You could talk about goal setting, mental wellness, how to stop procrastinating, confidence tips, overcoming fear, especially when it's about starting YouTube. I did it. My One of my first videos was you know analysis paralysis and don't procrastinate. I was fearful of starting. I mean, I don't fear much, but I did fear starting on YouTube because I said, I don't know how the hell to do this. Kids are more adept to this than I am, but I found that not to be the truth. So that's why I'm giving you inspiration and giving you confidence that, hey, you can do this because I can. Uh, Evergreen niches that always work is how to do an educational content. Simple tutorials, technical, life skills, and even home fixes. Think about how to use an iPhone at any age, which I still don't know all the features of my iPhone. I'm getting there, but I don't know all the features that I need to know. Or how to upload a YouTube video. Again, as I go through these series of steps, these series of videos, think of it as, and I can't use this title, YouTube for Dummies, but YouTube 101 for older people or people that are afraid to afraid to undertake YouTube because they think it's beyond their capabilities. It's just for kids, just for younger people. But that's not true. It's for everybody. You just have to know a couple of things to get started on it. And once you build up your confidence, you get much better at it. When I first started, I kept looking at my notes and I kept reading from my notes over here and here. My eyes were not focused on that camera. I'm getting better. I'm focusing on the camera right now, so you're seeing me look at the camera much more often. Uh, Another thing that's a niche, which is a pretty good niche, is product reviews and unboxing, especially trending gadgets, mobility aids. Again, I can give an expertise on how to use my mobility scooter and how I customized it for my specific needs. Before I bought my own and I went to Disney, I always rented one from one of the vendors down at Disney, and it was great. However, I did bring some of my own accessories in addition to the one that they had. And before I took it out for the day, I would I would do my own modifications to it. And then at the end of the rental period, I take my modifications off and return it the way it was. I actually bought one of the used ones from them at one time, and I had it up until last year until I needed something a little bit smaller to get into the back of my car. I have a Honda Passport, and I love it. I also have one of those lifts. It's called a Bruno lift, and it sits inside the bed of the car and it comes out. And I'll show you, but the other mobility scooter that I had was a little bit too big. It was more difficult to get in. It was able to get in, but this one was a little bit easier, or is a little bit easier to get in. Plus, I can keep it customized for my needs all the time, and I have more use for it if I feel comfortable in using it. Let me see, what else can you talk about? Uh, Wellness items. God, as you get older, you need all kinds of wellness items. I'm trying to use the exercise bands. I can't, stand up and do the exercises. I have to sit down because my my steadiness on my feet is not there. I'm like those Fisher Price Weeble toys. I think I made reference to that before. If I stand unassisted, I wobble from side to side, and I'm afraid of falling on my rear end, and I've done that a couple of times too. Uh, Boomer faced unboxings. People, when they get things from Amazon, for instance, they'll open up boxes, they'll open it up and they'll say, hey, this is what I got. This is what comes in the package. This is how you assemble it. This is how you use it. And a lot of people are doing that kind of thing right now, and they're very successful at it. And, they're getting a lot of views from it. So that's something else that you can incorporate into your niche. Another or niche that you can get into is gaming. I forgot her name. I forgot. I really forgot. But she was a gamer, and I think she was 88 years old, and she just gave up the specific gaming that she did, and she's just doing YouTube videos. If I can remember, I'll get on the screen and I'll put a little note under this section here about what her channel is. But she's 88 years old and she was gaming, and she had a ton, a ton of viewers, and she was good at it, and a lot of people liked looking at her, and she was funny. Games, retro games, or even time trying Fortnite at the age of 60. Surprisingly, it's successful when it's unexpected. So you never know, among the people who go to YouTube to look for something, they could stumble upon your YouTube channel and say, hey, I like the way they're playing this game. They're giving it a different perspective. They're giving it a different look. Uh, Here's a couple of underrated niches that are low competition and high engagement. Now, for instance, me, life lessons from boomers. I'd shine there because I have a lot of life lessons, good, bad, and indifferent. Some I'll talk about in the future, but probably some I will not talk about. Digital literacy for older adults. I have some literacy when it comes to digital stuff. A couple of times I'll have to call up my grandson and say, "Hey, Aiden, what the hell? How does this work?" Or if I get on FaceTime with him, how do I get out of FaceTime? Because I have Apple products and he has Apple products. How do I do this and how do I get off of this? And he just laughs. He said, "Grandpa, I'll walk you through it. Just hit this button, hit that button. That's fine." But I'm learning. And again, if I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I'll get on YouTube and I'll search for it and I'll find out exactly how I'm doing it. And I'll spend more time trying to figure out how to do this so I can, I'm good at it myself. I'm not going to be an expert at it, but I think I'll be good enough to explain to you how to do something. Uh, minimum, Minimalization and downsizing tips for seniors. I don't want to kick the bucket someday and leave my kids with a whole apartment and garage full of stuff that I've accumulated over the years. It's not fair. Uh, I'm not going to do that to them. I'm going to downsize, and I have been downsizing, and especially cleaning up. Everybody's got these junk drawers in the kitchen. Well, I have a junk drawer in my bedroom, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start decluttering more and more of that stuff, going through clothes that don't fit anymore, that are probably older than some of the viewers that I have on YouTube right now. I have stuff under the bed from when I moved that have been under the bed in those, those big plastic bags that you suck the air out of and it compresses it. Well, they've been under the bed for 8 to 10 years or in my closet. And I have to go through that stuff to see what I want to get rid of. And I will. Uh, all right, so I'm going to end this video today by asking you, what kind of niche are you interested in? And you could put it into the comments section below. And I'm usually pretty good about answering comments. And if you have any comments about me and about my presentation, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, or say, hey, John, you're rambling on, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, that's fine. That's good. I mean, that's okay. I'm not going to take offense to it. Uh, that's the way I'm going to learn. That's how I'm going to get better at what I'm doing. I want to hear back from you to say, "Hey, John, you're doing well. Hey, John, you suck at it. Don't do this, don't do that." I have a store, collectibles card shop, where we do gaming and things like that. And one of my customers is he's a good customer, and he said the other day he came in, he said, "I've been watching some of your YouTube videos," and he said they're pretty good. I said, "Well, thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it." He said, "But you got to create a playlist." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I looked at that playlist thing, and I don't know what the hell it means." So he explained it, and I Google searched it, and then I YouTube searched it, and I found that, yeah, you know, playlists are important because that's how you organize your videos. Uh, like, for instance, I mentioned before about my semaglutide journey. I'm going to group all of those together. So it'll be easier for one person to go, once they're on that video, they can go down the playlist and hit all the videos that are related to semaglutide. YouTube loves this because it brings more views, and more views brings more money to them. And once you get monetized, it'll bring more money to you. So we're going to talk about all those other things in my series of YouTube for Beginners 101 class in the near future, probably next week. I may talk about one of the other, how to do a description on YouTube, how to come up with a good title, how to come up with a good thumbnail. And what I want to do is make it relatable to you, not to somebody who knows a lot about it, but to somebody who doesn't know a lot about it. I'm even thinking about, there's a, a senior center near me, and I go there a couple of times. Well, let me see, usually every 6 weeks, because they have a clinic there that cuts your toenails for you because it's cheap. It's easier and it's cheaper than going to a foot doctor to have it done. And they have all kinds of courses there. And in the back of my mind, I'm saying, hey, maybe I should offer my services and how to start a YouTube channel and how to, get some seniors that are interested in making more money. And I think I can do it. And I think it'd be fun and it'd be helpful. And that's what I want to do, is I want to be able to help people. So that's it for today. Again, if you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you did. Hit the notifications button if you want to get notified of future videos. And if you like my video today, just hit the like button. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And you have a good day. Bye.